Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone that can hear the sound of my voice to this week's edition of the Petty and Ill-Informed podcast, where we venture our petty and ill-informed opinions about a variety of topics. Joining me, as always, Nikki, Tom, Kevin. Kevin, Tom, Nikki, how are you guys?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty spiffy. Tom, how are you?
Yeah, I've just got this lousy cough that I won't shift. Hopefully, it won't ruin the podcast. But other
We can
than
only
that,
hope.
other than that, all is well.
Kevin, how are you?
Swinging on in from a great VE Day, Victory in Europe Day this week. And
Yeah, they're making a big deal about it on EastEnders. I had to explain to Nikki that VE Day is kind of a big deal.
Mate. You can't, just don't roll around very many times.
Did he just go quiet for everyone?
Yeah.
Okay.
What'd you say, Kevin?
And dead air.
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
So I guess VE Day did not extend to Kevin's Wi-Fi. Tom, did you do anything special for VE Day this year?
Not really. I meant to. I thought it'd be lovely to watch The Longest Day because that's just such a classic film about D-Day, which started the whole thing, and it was the beginning of the end, arguably, for Hitler, and it was. It's such a great film, The Longest Day. It's black and white. I haven't seen it for an eternity. God, I couldn't tell you the last time I saw that film. I probably was a teenager, but it's one of those ones I found a deep. As I've said many times, I'm sure into I love collecting the physical media, and I found just a year ago a 2-disc special edition with a lovely commemorative booklet at a charity stall at some sort of nature park, I think it was, and just a sort of woodland trust type place. And it was really cool. Lovely little find. Less about £1.50, something like that. And I was going to watch that, but I was just been so busy with work. Very little else has got a look in any evenings this week, but work, sadly.
My favourite black and white war movie is All Quiet on the Western Front.
Oh, I remember we watched that as when I did my master's. I did a master's in propaganda. It was just an excuse to stay one more year at university, really. But I decided to do that, and one of the modules we looked at was propaganda through war films and how they, bias in war films, things like that. It was really good, and we watched All Quiet on the Western Front, the original one. Then I've not seen the remake.
I don't want to watch it. I really like the original. So.
Yeah. I don't think, and hopefully you can hear me again. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I was going to say, the original one, I think it's the best one. It's a lot of those First World War I movies or films. Another good one is one with Kirk Douglas in it, and I can't remember what it was called now, but
is it black and white?
Yes. And he was playing an officer in the French army, and they were trying to get to this German bunker called the Ant Hill, and they were kept on. I can't remember what it's called. It's not Verdun, but it's placed at Verdun, but I can't remember what it's called.
I'm not sure I know that one.
Yeah, let me just see here if I can find it. But talk away, folks. Talk away.
Well, and I think of Kirk Douglas and war films. I think of The Heroes of Telemark and didn't he do that Stanley Kubrick one about a courtroom after a war? It's really a really famous film. Can't pin it down now. The name escapes me. Anyone know what I'm talking about?
I think the movie was called Paths of Glory is the one I was talking about.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah, but I don't think that's that kind of thing you see on shelves.
Yeah, and Another good one that I really liked. These are all like ones where guys do their duty and then they always get screwed over for it. You know what I mean? Breaker Morant is a good movie with Tom Woodward, the guy that was in The Equalizer. But it's about these three people that get set up for this thing in the Boer War and they get put to death. But that's good. That's a good film.
Alrighty. Just so everyone knows, the game that is being demonstrated tonight is called Dead Zone Rogue. It is an action roguelike. There has been some complaints that I was not telling people what game was being showed, so that's what is happening. So, I'm going to ask you a question, Tom. Want an answer, obviously, and then I'm going to ask the same question to Kevin. Tom, what, in your opinion, is the stupidest reason mankind has gone to war?
Oh, the stupidest reason. Oh,
Well, stupid. No, not stupid. Weirdest reason.
oh God, man, I'm struggling to. I'm not. I don't know if I don't know sort of any sort of anecdotes about little mishaps that have started wars, or the weirdest reason. Or the best I can do, and this is a lame effort, was when not recently. Oh no, sorry, fairly recently, within all our lifetimes. When we went to war with the Second Gulf War with Iraq, we produced Tony Blair's government produced a dossier of all the reasons why it was a good idea to go to war with Iraq. And it turned out that was somebody's PhD essay that had been completely plagiarized. And that had been used. A lot of that had been directly. This essay had been directly plagiarized as the case that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. I don't even know if that's what this essay was arguing, but it was like word. It was. I think it was proven. This is a shadow of a memory. It would need to be. Gabby would need to look it up on Wikipedia or something like that. But I really do recall that happening, and that was a very, very weird reason. And that was how desperate the British government was to follow. I mean, Tony Blair was absolutely convinced that it was the right thing to do to go to war with Iraq. He was utterly convinced it was the morally right thing. And so, that's. So I'm afraid that is the best I can do. Not so much a reason to start a war, but using some student's essays to try and convince people that the war you wanted to go into was a good idea.
That is a really dumb reason. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to give you that.
I'd need to verify that, but I am pretty sure it happened. I'm checking. I'm half expecting Gabby to have messaged me already.
No, she's not here tonight.
Oh, I have to do my own homework. All right.
What?
Yeah, where's Gabby? She doesn't have
no
another
idea,
life.
but she's not in the chat. So
That's rude. What are we gonna do without her?
Yeah,
I don't know. She's the only one that talks in the chat as well. So now it's just going to be a square of white block all night.
I love that. I'm okay with that. I'm all right.
So, Flo, pick up the slack while Gabby's gone. Yeah. Right, Kevin.
Okay, two examples. One may not actually be a war, but an incursion. But I will say it, and then I have one between two countries that I also will add if I have time. Okay, the first one was after and we were discussing this the other day because a lot of people in Ireland didn't know I was that much of a nerd, so they asked me a very similar question. And one of the things that I said was the Fenian, and I will say this, Fenian in the description of how they describe themselves, not as a pejorative. I want to make that clear just in case we get a strike against this. But because in Northern Ireland, the F word, there's two F words. One's, and the other one's Fenian. And so but after the Second World War, a lot of people that had moved to America and had gotten their citizenship simply by the fact that they came off the boat in New York, joined the American Army, and fought in the Civil War. Then afterwards decided, okay, but we really still are pro-Irish. And so they set up a group of people along the American border. And the plan was, and they did do it, they did go into Canada at the time and tried to take over parts of Canada in order to ransom Canada back to the British government to give Ireland its independence. So that's a weird story, that they were going to take Canada over to assure Irish freedom. It didn't work. And I think we've talked about this before. One of the guys that had invented the torpedo was one of these people, and ended up selling the torpedo and some plans for submarines to the British government, and that led to World War One. Anyway, so that's that. The other one that was really weird one is the San Juan Islands Pig War. And
now this is more what I'm talking about.
Yes, yes. So
I know about the pig war.
The pig war happened because, of course, at one point in time, Britain did consider Oregon and Washington as part of what was called British North America. Americans or settlers showed up and started basically planning Oregon as part of America. And one of the reasons why Portland is 7 miles away from Vancouver, Washington, is because that was the closest you could have a neighboring city from another country to a Hudson's Bay trading fort. So Fort Vancouver became the issue. Now, as time went on, they kept retracting up and up and up through Washington State. And so they ended up in the San Juan Islands, which basically Canada claimed and the United States claimed. So part of San Juan Island was involved. It was had American Marines on it. On the other half had, I think, British Marines on the other half. And they started a 7-day war, which was between the two countries over who had stolen and slaughtered a pig on San Juan Islands. So
man, that is just so much better than what I was going to talk about.
It didn't actually turn into like a major thing because, at the time, the people had they did declare war on each other. It just didn't get fast enough back to the people in the countries that found out whether they were going to do anything, and it sort of died out. But it was one of those important things over the whole American 54-40 fight and all that imagined space between there. And that's why one of the reasons why Point Roberts is a part of America, but it's actually not surrounded by anything by Canada or the water.
Right. So the old Irish invasion of Canada didn't go ahead. And the pig war was ruled a draw.
What? Yeah, ruled a draw, and that was it.
Oh man, the pig war's awesome though. I didn't even know about that.
It's
That's so much more interesting as well. Damn it, because I went down a massive rabbit hole the other day, and I wanted to talk about it, but the pig war just shits all over it.
No. It's here's what it is. It's a minor footnote of a footnote of a footnote that only a guy who lived in that area and talked to native folks about how that all worked out and everything like that, and was a military historian would know. That's the only thing. You know what I mean? It's sort of like finding out that the dry tortugas in Nassau around the Bahamas, I think, used to hold like political prisoners after the Civil War. And so that's but how are you going to know that? You know what I mean?
All right,
AI.
So yeah, we've got some pretty good answers there. Anything from the chat? Anyone want to weigh in on a stupid, weird reason people went to war? Give you a second for that to catch up. Although you're going to have to work hard to beat the pig war.
I think if you look back at religious wars, you could probably find some.
Yeah,
Probably a
but but like religion is something we don't touch.
No.
We're not allowed to talk about religion. I'm not allowed to talk about religion, politics, or toast with Nikki.
Yes. Well, but it's
right.
funny because, well, you tell your story. Let's not get into why we don't talk about it, but let's tell your story.
Right. So I plummeted down this rabbit hole when I found out that 6 countries in the 1800s to the early 1900s went to war over bird shit.
I can believe that because it was probably used for what, gunpowder or something?
Oh, see, apparently everybody else in the world knew that bird shit was a good fertilizer and could make
Mhm.
saltpeter, which is good for. I was apparently the only one that didn't know that. So to me, it was a dumb reason, but apparently it was a perfectly real reason. Anyway,
It's not a bad reason. It's a good reason.
ugh.
Did you no, but keep on going about it.
Right.
I'm not
wait,
Yeah.
because I haven't got to the best part yet. I find it underwhelming because everybody, I've been like, bird shit. You know, my best friend from school was like, yeah, it was a valuable fertilizer back then. And I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, whatever. Anyway, so the 6 countries involved were Spain, Peru, Chile, Bolivia, Ecuador, France, even Spain got in on this. And later on, Mexico. So it's like 8 countries, really. There was a lot of countries fighting over small islands in the South Pacific that had a ton of bird poop on them. So they'd basically send in, I didn't know this was a thing, guano miners who'd go in. It's just, I mean, did they have pickaxes and everything? Sorry, I find it really funny, the idea of a guano miner, you know, with the hat, with the lamplight on the hat, the canary.
That's great.
It just amuses the fuck out of me. Sorry. Anyway, so they all go in and they would mine these islands dry for bird poop, but because there were plenty of seabirds back then, it wasn't like now. Avian flu has wiped out a large population of the seabird population. But nowadays, so back then, they were plentiful and the islands would fill back up with bird poop pretty quickly. So these countries would have actual wars with actual guns and actual like navy conflicts with cannons and everything over bird poop. Now, in the late 1800s, the early 1900s, Mexico laid claim to an island that had been previously under occupation by the French, called Clipperton Island, and they decided they weren't just gonna, lay claim to it; they were gonna colonize it. So they sent 6 military families to the island, and they were like, "All right, build a settlement, lay claim, and we'll send you food and shit on ships. You guys can."
Why would they need to send them shit on a boat though? Weren't they there for the shit?
But why not?
Why
Oh,
not?
okay.
Yeah. Other shit. Apparently, shit's super valuable. I don't know. Anyway, so they'd send them food and clothes and supplies via ship. The ship would come to the island, give them their stuff, and then leave, and everyone would be super happy. That was the plan, anyway. Obviously, things did not go to plan because the Mexican Revolution happened, and ships stopped going to the island. An American ship ventured close to the island in 1907. They rescued most of the colonists, but 4 men and 6 women stayed behind because they were in trouble with the Mexican army for deserting, and they didn't want to get in trouble again. So they decided to stay behind. But they were desperate for supplies because there was only algae, which was deadly poisonous to humans. There were a lot of pigs on the island. Pigs were doing really well, but that was leading to malnutrition. So what they needed was like fresh fruits, fresh veg, because they were getting scurvy, all sorts. No ship came, except one ship sailed close to the island, and the leader of the men, military man by the name of Ramon, decided the best course of action was try to get the ship's attention. They jumped into a paddle boat. They rowed out to try and get the ship. They didn't catch up. No one knows what happened. They all ended up drowning.
Oh,
So
no.
the women on the island and the lighthouse keeper, who immediately declared himself king and basically started R-wording all the women.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah,
As one does.
Not
As one
good.
does.
Not good.
So that was a low point of the whole guano war. Was this douchebag who decided to declare himself king of a small irrelevant island in the South Pacific?
Yes, that doesn't surprise me. But
He ended
you
up.
said,
It has a happy ending because he ended up being brutally murdered by 2 of the women.
yes, and ate by the pigs probably. Yeah,
I assume so.
Okay, well, but let me ask you. Let me just clarify this timeline again. So the French founded Clitoris Island, and so they find it by accident, and then they never could find the clitoris again. Is that what happened?
Nuh-uh. It was.
And once the Mexicans find the clitoris, then they move.
Okay. We're just going to take this down to the lowest denominator. All right.
No, it's a great story because there's actually a story like that by Greenland, which of course is claimed by as a Danish protectorate. In between Greenland and Canada, there is an uninhabited island that they basically have joint dispute over who owns the island, but it's non-inhabited. So basically, every year, like the Canadian government will go out there, plant a flag, leave a bottle of scotch or something, or Canadian whiskey on it, and then the next year, the Danish will come back out and plant a flag on it and bring some kind of Danish booze. I'm not sure what it is, but that's how they settle that back and forth. They just as a funny custom, claim it every other year. Not that it matters, but that's interesting stuff about that kind of things about that. But during the English Civil War, Presbyterian ladies at church and Church of England.
Civil War?
What? The English Civil War?
Yeah, which one? There was like 20.
Well, I don't know. One of the first ones, or
I mean, around Ed's and the Cavaliers.
Yes,
like,
that's
the famous one.
That's correct. I'm sorry. I not being English.
There was one during Henry VIII's rule.
Yeah.
The Tudors came to power by way of a civil war.
Yes. Well,
the
yes.
guys became to power by right of a civil war. Bloody Mary. There were a couple of civil wars
that was involving noblemen. I mean, technically, what you say that Cromwell, who's not a very well liked person in Ireland, let's just put it that way. I'm talking about that.
No lie. That's an understatement. They still say when they think something breaks, it was Cromwell's fault.
Oh, absolutely. But no, it was during that because they were using gunpowder and that. That they actually collected urine from women. They didn't care about men's urine, but women were supposed to bring their saved urine to church on a Sunday so that they could use it to make saltpeter or something for gunpowder. That's that's an unknown, just a little factlet that a lot of people don't know. But
when was this?
This was in the English during the English Civil War. And also, what they used to call guano farmers in Britain was gong farmers. And gong farmers and night soilmen, because they didn't have sewers in a lot of places in Britain, night soilmen would actually come along out down the street, and all the stuff you heaved out into the street, crap and everything like that, they would take it down to the outskirts of the town and drop it in like a little creek or something like that, usually called Shipbrook. And so all your unnecessary waste was taken down to Shipbrook, and normally that was the first thing you smelled whenever you entered a town. Now, a gong farmer was somebody that went actually down into cisterns and cesspits and that, dug it out, and oftentimes used that feces as fertilizer on people's gardens.
Just need a body pit for saltpeter.
Yeah, and sometimes gong farmers are also known to go down there and be opportunists to see what people had thrown into the cesspit, like rings or pieces of. I mean, you've heard that about people who go along the Thames at low tide. What are they called? Like they're always down there picking through things, trying to find
Mudlarks.
Mudlarks. It's kind of just a dirtier version of that. But yeah, no.
Do people still do that?
Mudlarks?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think people go to that's how they find a lot of stuff, I think, still.
I would have thought the only thing you're going to find in the Thames is cholera.
Yes. Well, you would imagine that. I wouldn't want to be roaming around there, but I think that they were one of the ones that had found like the Romans had a bridge that crossed the Thames somewhere, and I think that they find the place where it was, so the ancient things. It's good that somebody does that, because to be honest with you, what we know about ancient history is really not that much when you think about it. That's like trying to find the what was that? The bridge at Stirling, the Stirling Bridge. There's a big dispute about where that actually was, and that was a major dispute between the Scots and the English. But nobody actually knows where the Battle of Stirling Bridge was, because they can't find the bridge.
Bridges traditionally go over water, so stuff.
Well, no, I know. It is over. It is. They know where the river is. Don't be like that.
What? There's no sort of historical archaeological evidence for exactly where the bridge was.
Well, they're saying that there had been several bridges over, and one of them was assumed, but the battle report said that the bridge crossed sort of not directly across, that it had actually gone diagonally because of, well, I'm getting into the minutiae, but there are people that dispute where it is, where it was, so therefore, but it doesn't change the whole, on the day, the marshy experience and the English knights getting into marshes, and then that's why they lost. But that's sad. It happened, and that's the way it goes. Except it's not how it happened in Braveheart, which it's a great movie that shows the Battle of Stirling Bridge without a bridge, and that's historically accurate.
Apparently, urine was also a good use of teeth whitener.
Oh.
Well, uric acid is a good cleaner. I mean, you look at, if you ever watch any of them programs of like, what's that, Tony Robinson and like the world's worst jobs and everything.
I've seen them. That they use something about curing leather with it.
Yes. Everything, it seemed like in past times, involved using shit or piss, or usually both. So
Don't make me laugh, man.
so that's what
I'm
I'm
just
saying.
gonna mute Tom while he
Oh
dies.
no, but all I've said is it does not. If anybody says they started a war over shit, I after watching those programs, it doesn't surprise me at all. It's kind of like the idea of a lot of people in Scotland who lived on, the Western Isles. They actually used to make a lot of money from burning seaweed on the beach and using that potash for things. So, it's collect your old shit and burn it, like we do in Northern Ireland on the 11th of July, for no reason. Some old king, I don't know. So, what else has been going on, folkies?
Richard.
Not much. Not much. I've just been working. Nikki?
Yeah, same. Lots of work. I was called special ed at work, so things are going great.
Is that not sort of a? Well, I suppose anymore. You don't know where you'll land in the swings and roundabouts about things, about what you can say to people. It's interesting. I've been watching, and I know Tom, and I know Richard, you'll be very disappointed in me for this. But Sam and I have been binge watching Married at First Sight Australia.
The amount of trash TV me and Nikki watch, I wouldn't worry about it.
Oh yeah. No, all I've said is it's at first I thought it was interesting, and now it seems like it's just an experiment in cruelty. I don't know.
100%.
I yeah, it's more, like they used to have this thing on the Game Show Network, and I think it was like everybody got in these pods for for several times, and nobody knew how everybody was. They were supposed to outlast each other in these pods. It was kind of like Alone, but this thing controlled your environment completely. And it just seems like that. It just seems like we've matched you together with this other person, and the other person seems to be some kind of a psychopathic narcissist. And it's just like, I've never been in. They take people who have never been in a long-term relationship before, and they put them with these people who are like narcissists. But somehow they're supposed to be.
You've got to be those things to get onto reality TV in the first place.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember one of the first times that this sort of thing was called into question for exactly the reasons you described was Big Brother in its maybe 4th or 5th season. I'm not sure. The only season of it I ever watched. One of the people who was in the Big Brother house. One of the
Katie Hopkins, probably.
No, it wasn't a celebrity thing. It was just ordinary people. They got this guy called Shabazz, and he was the most mentally unwell person I think I've ever seen on television. It was awful to see, and there were a lot of criticism was leveled at the fact that they had let this guy come onto TV and come on to this show in the state that he was in, and that they should have foreseen the absolute car crash that Shabazz was just drove himself into. He went out of his way to make people dislike him as much as he could, because that was the only way he knew to have a relationship with anybody, was to have a really bad one. And he forced a bad relationship for himself on with everybody else.
Yes.
Because that was his comfort zone. It was horrible. He did things like last thing at night, he got all of the food out of the fridge and put it in a chest so that all of their food would go off, just for no discernible reason.
Yes.
He just was totally out of his depth on this show, and it was.
There's
horrible
another
to
one that
see.
threatened to commit suicide, self-deletion,
I can't remember.
because everyone was ignoring him.
Well, they were, because after a handful of incidents like that and these conversations where he just he said he would just force dislike upon people. I remember him saying, "But you're just going to call me a packy perf all the time." Because
he was taking every card out of the deck.
He was just such a troubled soul. And a couple of the other house guests went in and they said, "What is he doing here? Why have you put this person in this house with us?" And things. And after a couple of days, Big Brother brought him out. The show brought him out, and
he walked.
It just wasn't funny anymore.
Yeah,
he
didn't even last a whole week.
Yeah,
but he just wasn't equipped mentally.
Yeah, but at the same time,
it was awful.
I think at the same time, guys, that they bring these people to the line of control and then just let them, fall. It's the whole Mickey Rourke scenario on Big Brother, all again. And it's like everybody, I think anybody who would have talked to him, including Mickey Rourke himself, would have said, "Yeah, this is not going to go right. This is not going to go well." I haven't watched it since then. I don't even know who won it, but it's.
I've heard about this season and those two, but I haven't watched any of it because I don't really generally watch Big Brother.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, it's tough. It's a tough show. My favorite show to watch, obviously, is I like Celebrity Big Brother normally, but I always watch I'm a Celebrity. Get me out of here! I love that show for some reason, but
I would like it if they had actual celebrities on it. I'm just gonna say,
yeah.
Whenever they say Celebrity Big Brother, Celebrity,
yes,
I'm a Celebrity, it's just like, there's going to be like one person maybe on this that I know.
Yes. You've got to get an 80s pop star that can go on. I mean, it was big. It was good whenever they had Boy George on it. I mean, I like that. The guy, Tony Hadley, from Spandau Ballet. I mean, I know he's a personally nice guy. I've met him at the airport in Belfast. He's very kind. So I like to see it for that. Some of the people they bring on, the Olympians and all that, that's good. But then they get sort of these, what do you call it? D-list people and call them
not even D-list, just people. Calling them celebrities is just too much credit.
Well, I think it's hard now because a lot of times that we don't necessarily, at least a lot of these people are like TikTok people and they have huge amount of followers and there's no way I would know who they were. You know what I mean? It's the change from sort of classic terrestrial television to cable television to TikTok people. The digital idea of celebrity is so spread out, then you don't know who anybody is. Like, it's like if you say to somebody who's on OnlyFans or something like that, everybody in the world knows who they are except for me. You know what I mean? I don't even know how to do OnlyFans, but I don't even know what it is. I imagine you go on there and see people's hoo-has. But
you gotta pay, but yeah.
You gotta pay.
It's just a cam girl service. All right. I don't know why people are making such a big deal about this. Cam girls have existed since the dawn of the internet. Why does it matter? Why does it fucking matter?
Well, I don't know. I
Pornography is recession proof. It's obviously an industry that works. Why is there all this bloody shame and shit attached to it?
Oh,
You know, it's like prostitution and pornography. Prostitution is the world's oldest profession. And pornography is recession-proof. People obviously use it. They like it. Why does it have to be such a fucking horrific thing? I don't like it. It annoys me. Sorry.
Well, I mean, the thing that I'll say about it is those some people can't differentiate between a sensual experience with somebody you love and just old sex. You know what I mean? Or they assume that's what it is. If you're in a relationship with somebody and you've agreed not to step outside the boundaries of that relationship, if you do, that's wrong. If you just want to knock one out of the park, and this is the easiest way to do it, and this lady's willing to show you her bits for money or man or whatever.
But that's I like fucking Pornhub's free. That's all I'm going to say. You know, Pornhub is free.
I agree. Yeah, it's free.
So
Yeah,
so just you know.
but
if
then
these
you always
girls-
get hit with the ad first. Yeah, apparently there are very horny mature ladies in my area
Right?
that are real into. The funny thing about the ads on that, because it was like really ugly women want to have sex with you in the area right now. Awesome.
I mean, any
Just
point
what
in
I've
school,
always
Kevin.
wanted.
You know, don't play it up for me. I mean, just let me have that. It was like the idea the other day. My friend came up to me and he said, I'm going to grow strawberries this year. And he says, you know, have you ever tried to use, you know, shit on strawberries? You know, and I said, okay. So I went out and got some strawberries. And
then
to
he
be honest
shit
with
on
you,
them?
no, I said to myself, I think I'm going to go back to whipped cream instead of shit after
Yeah.
trying them.
Yeah. Good
That
idea.
one, that didn't land.
No.
Although, to be honest with you, I could probably see strawberry shit and a lady do that all on OnlyFans.
You could. You would have to pay for it though. And there are so many places where you can get it for free.
Well, but is that like, you know how you can go on to like voice sites and stuff and you can pay like Casey from Casey and the Sunshine Band like $60 to make a personalized message?
Yeah, that you can. They have people that do that too. Like not everybody is doing pornography on OnlyFans.
Yeah, but I mean, so like if you know, like I'm saying, but you could get bespoke porn, I guess, for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. That is the thing. If you want a girl who's gonna do it and like say your name during and all that stuff, it's a good place to go. If you don't care and you just want to get your rocks off, you can get it for free, like
Well,
literally
yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah. No, I
Just type
understand
in
that.
what you're interested in. You know, if it was shit on strawberries, just go to Google and type in shit on strawberries XXX and then go to videos and look to see if
Oh
whatever
yeah, okay.
pops
That's
up, you know.
I guess that's it. What a
You know?
fantastic.
Just
what a
put
world we live in.
XXX after anything and you will find pornography.
Well, do
Rule
you think
34 of the internet, if you can think of it, pornography exists.
yes. Well, do you think, okay, from a standpoint of a lot of different, let's think back to Roman times where obviously brothels were a very, very big thing. And pornography on walls was a big thing sometimes, and people would make etchings of things like that.
Mhm.
Do you think that those people interacted with, I mean, let's say you're the average Roman and you're working, going to work every day and doing that. Do you think they interacted with people any more than, say, somebody stuck in their house does now? I mean, you know, I don't know, because back then, if you lived in an apartment, you couldn't cook in your apartment or whatever. You went and got your food or you had it delivered up and you never
Right.
really left. You probably never really talked to anybody except at your job if you had to.
So, Flo, YouTube still has porn, only now it's called breastfeeding tutorials and naked gymnastics. It's still porn on YouTube. It's just called something else.
Mhm.
For educational purposes.
For educational purposes, yeah. That's how they get around it. But every single
Right.
one of those girls has a link to their OnlyFans, so make of that what you will.
Oh my!
There was a woman
What?
in Tennessee, actually, not that long ago, that got done for child porn because she had a baby suckling on her tits, but she was selling those pictures to horny men.
Dear God.
Oh, that. Oh,
That's
ooh,
not
times a
okay.
million.
Yes,
It
but
wasn't. It wasn't Nikki, just so everyone knows.
no, but I'm saying, okay, who is the offender there? You know what I'm saying? If you
She is.
are, she is
She
because
is the offender
because
because she's knowingly using her child for pornographic images.
oh, okay, well that's true. I mean, what I'm saying is if people wanted a picture of that, are you responsible for their period interest? That was the
Yes.
that was the case. You are,
100%. She had
Yeah.
cultivated a specific audience that wanted to see her. Well,
yes,
wanted to see her topless,
right.
and then she was selling those pictures on the internet.
Oh,
It was. I don't know if it was child porn, but it was definitely using a minor in an inappropriate way.
right.
I don't know. The
I
law
would-
doesn't differentiate that, and she definitely deserved to get in trouble.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, is she currently
that is just
living?
all kinds of ick and totally morally wrong. Oh my
Yeah.
days!
Yeah, not good. I don't know if I would have the balls to commit a crime in America right now. I just don't.
Mm-mm. They'll
I
deport
mean-
you right back to Ireland.
Well, or
El Salvador first,
Yeah. I somebody here told me the other day, they said, oh, they're sending people to Rwanda and Libya. And I said, is that right? And I looked it up, and I guess that is true. That you
Yeah,
can get,
he's
I-
very excited to he's talked about it multiple times, sending homegrowns, which is, just a happy way of saying people from America.
I don't know about that. Like I said, it just seems so very Devil's Island, sort of French penal colony to me.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely. And he wants to reopen Alcatraz, even though, like, talk about government waste. We closed it down because it was highly inefficient to run.
Yeah, it's very expensive to run. It was just sort of like a glamour project for big mobsters and stuff,
Right.
But so, who's going there? Who's supposed to go there? If the offenders?
Who knows? Who knows?
People who are waiting for due process.
Right. As if they're gonna get it.
I don't know,
That's
brother.
funny.
Yeah, in a
It's-
couple of years they'll be saying due process. What's that? One of your made-up rules.
Right.
I'm gonna ask this question, and I don't mean it in any kind of offensive way or anything to anybody, but do you think that if America wasn't the economic powerhouse that it was, that we wouldn't see America as a state that you wouldn't want to visit? You know what I mean? I mean, almost it gets to the point where, the first place that gives Americans refugee status for being gay or being a woman or being whatever is definitely sunk, because America will try to do everything to ruin that country.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although, if you're living in a place where you have no due process or nothing else, they just decide that you're guilty and just throw you in jail. I don't get that. That it's very scary. I mean, I do know about that because as I always throw back to this, but as a person who lived in Northern Ireland in the 1970s and understanding the British Terrorism Act of 1972, and that you could be thrown in jail for a long time without actually having a reason to, not they weren't taken outside of Northern Ireland, but still. I mean, I know of people who were taking places and my own father was arrested for being an American one time, for being an American in Northern Ireland in 1972. And, basically interned for 72 hours until they let him go and verified his paperwork. They did let him go. But, do we really want to live in a society with the big black light and the bright, the black room and the white light? And where were you on this date? And why are you doing this? And why are you doing that? And the whole get-go. I won't go into the whole thing about it. It doesn't matter. But I mean, that is terrifying to me or a lot of people. And I don't know. It's just like, hopefully I'm staying on the right side of the law, and hopefully I'm not saying anything that doesn't piss somebody off. I mean, it is, you do feel that people don't want to talk about it. And whenever you say that people do make a statement, you feel like, oh, that person's really brave. You know what I mean? They're really brave for saying their opinion. That's a scary thing to me, when you have to like uphold somebody's bravery for having a contrary statement.
Yeah.
And that's anyway. Not to go. I won't talk about specifics. I'm just talking about history from a family political point of view.
No,
in here in this country. But then again, I choose to live here now, so that's fine. But anyway.
Someday I won't live here.
Well, I was just watching this thing the other day, and this lady said, if you come to Britain, you can come on a tourist visa for 6 months, and then all you have to do is leave the common area for like 1 day, and then you can enter back in.
Nice.
Yeah.
So
people do visa runs to France all the time.
Yeah. And so, but a lot of times, if you come into Spain, this is what I've heard lately. If you come into Spain and you get 3 months, you can get around that whole thing by traveling through the EU. There's certain zones that you can go to for a certain period of time and then come back into the country.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called. But if you go to Spain and then go and apply for what's called a digital nomad visa, you have to be in Spain while you apply for it. If you get the lawyer there to submit it, it takes about a month to apply for it. But then while it's all being processed, you don't have to leave.
Okay, that's cool.
You don't have to leave. And if you're approved, then you can stay there for 3 years on what's called a digital nomad visa. So in other words, you're working online for a company anywhere in the world. I would imagine. Yeah. So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you were doing remote nursing or remote teaching or remote whatever, you could do that.
Yeah.
And you can stay there as long as you want, and coming in out of the country and use that. And to be honest with you, I think Spain is like 50% of what it costs to live as it does in America.
Oh yeah, I mean everywhere. Honestly,
Portugal,
everywhere.
I think, is 70% less. I think you can. There's people I know that came to Portugal. They spend hardly any money on rent or anything in Portugal. Healthcare is really cheap or affordable, and you can get a job basically teaching at some school, tutoring Portuguese kids to speak English, and I guess you can make enough money to at least get by. So
yeah,
that's interesting thing. I'm just saying, if you feel like you're stuck, you're not as stuck as you think you are.
Yeah, I've been looking.
Yeah, I mean, but like I said, as long as you have a place to stay and stay as a tourist or whatever, you can at least, as long as you're not working in certain countries.
Yeah,
doing work. That's the thing. I don't know. Seems to be a lot of work of getting done around here under the table. That's all I can say. I can neither confirm or deny that, but this is Ireland. I mean,
Yeah, I love Ireland though.
The only thing I can say about Ireland is, you know, there's one thing that they hate. No matter what side you're on, everybody hates the government and everybody hates taxes.
That's
Anyway.
fair.
Yeah, that's a fair statement. That is a fair statement. Well, how's everything else going, Tom? Did you add anything in? Well, how was you went on holiday to Tenerife? I didn't ever hear about it.
Yeah,
Was it lovely?
yeah, I've been back from Tenerife about a month now. That was that was really cool. So I've just been quiet because either I've been coughing or my wife's been unwell and I've been looking after her upstairs. So that's why I've been very quiet tonight.
Oh no!
Glad you've been able to hold the fort though. But no, the trip to Tenerife was lovely. The biggest highlight was when we went up I forget the name of the main volcano, the volcano at the heart of the island, the volcano that made the island, I think.
Yes.
When we went up there, it was just how high we went in such a short space of time, just going on this bus, going around these like zigzagging, winding roads and things. And there were cyclists riding up there, and I'm like, man, you guys are nuts. Why are you doing this? And then occasionally you'd see one going down the other side, just going, wee, and bombing it down these hills.
Cyclists
and
are
loving
the
it.
fucking worst. No, they are literally the worst.
Is it pleasant though, Tom? Is it like living in a desert, or is the sea air nice, or is it like being sandblasted? I think so. That's the thing.
I thought it was we thought it was lovely. We loved it out there. There's a lot of palm trees.
So it is. Yeah, it's nice.
Feels semi-tropical. One thing that did puzzle me was there seemed to be in all these. In all the tourist gift shops, they have a big penchant for phallic bottle openers. So there's these complete penis-shaped wooden things with a bottle opener at the end, and I really didn't get that. I mean, and they were all painted in exotic colours, like it's some sort of, cultural custom type thing. It really did seem daft. I didn't buy one.
Yeah, a lot of stag and hen parties in Tenerife, I guess.
That would make sense.
It's not some kind of an ancient fertility thing or something.
Well,
now, I know you're laughing at me, but some of these times you find these little items. Isn't it the little sort of heavier woman, the mother goddess figure that with the pregnant belly and the
That's true.
Yeah, and the wee things that they find. Didn't they find those in Malta? I think that was Malta that found that. Of course, those were the things that whenever AI came in, they took them off the internet because they thought they were some kind of. Wasn't that it? That they were a naked figure or something, even though it was a headless statue? But, that was the idea. And then they couldn't understand why people thought that, having a heavy lady that was heavily pregnant and big breasts and everything like that would be a great thing to have. Well, if you've got a society where you're well enough to eat and, eating well and having a pregnant woman and having a breast full of milk and all that stuff is a good sign. Or apparently a niche on OnlyFans.
Yeah.
Way to bring it back around, Kevin.
Always like to bring it in a circular motion.
All right. I think that's time then. That'll wrap us up for this week. We will return next week, despite the hopes of many. It's good night from me, and it's good night from them.
Around
good
the
night,
world
everyone.
in 60 minutes.
Night, people.
Good night.